It is a question that echoes in the quiet corners of the internet. It is whispered in conversations late at night. Who is really in charge? Many people feel a sense of unease. They look at the world around them. They see wars, financial crises, political decisions that make no sense. It feels like someone, somewhere, is pulling the strings. This feeling has given rise to a powerful idea, the idea of the 1%. This is the notion that a tiny, almost invisible group of people at the very top of society holds the real power. They are said to control not just economies, but the very story we tell ourselves about the world. And the rest of us, the other 99%, are just living in the world they have created for us. So, who are this 1%? The term is often used in a simple way. It refers to the wealthiest people on the planet. But the theory goes deeper than just money. It suggests a network of individuals and families. They are connected by more than just bank accounts. They are linked by history, by shared interests, and by a common goal to maintain and expand their influence. These are the people who own the big banks. They run the giant corporations that shape our lives. They sit on the boards of powerful institutions. They fund politicians and universities. Their influence is not always loud or obvious. It is quiet, working behind the scenes, shaping the rules of the game in their favor. This feeling of being controlled is not new. Throughout history, people have looked at the powerful and wondered about their secrets. But today, the world is more connected than ever. Information and misinformation spreads at the speed of light. This has made the questions more urgent. Are there ancient bloodlines that have secretly ruled for centuries? Do these elites use hidden symbols and take part in strange rituals to maintain their power? Some people believe so. They point to strange patterns and coincidences. They see a hidden hand guiding events, a grand plan unfolding. But it is very hard to know what is real and what is just a story. The powerful are very good at hiding what they do. This essay will try to understand these claims. We will look at the idea of a global elite. We will follow the power. We will explore the stories people tell about them, from ancient bloodlines to claims of secret societies. But we will do this carefully. We will not simply accept or dismiss these ideas. Instead, we will look at the evidence. We will use public records, historical documents, and freely available media. The aim is not to provide simple answers. It is to explore the questions themselves. We will try to understand why these stories about power are so compelling. And we will see what we can learn by looking closely at how our world is really run. It is a journey into the heart of modern power. This is a story about control. It is about how power works in the modern world. We live in a time of great confusion. Events happen that seem random and chaotic. But some believe that underneath the chaos there is a hidden order. They believe that a small group of people are shaping our reality. This essay will take that idea seriously. We will travel into the world of the super rich, of the super powerful. We will examine the claim that a tiny elite, the 1%, orchestrates global events for its own benefit. We will look at the history of this idea. We will trace how wealth and influence have been concentrated in the hands of a few over generations. Our journey will be guided by a simple principle: follow the power. This means we will not focus on rumors or speculation alone. Instead, we will look at tangible connections. We will trace the flow of money. We will identify the networks that link powerful individuals and institutions. We will examine the documents they produce. We will examine the meetings they hold. We will examine the policies they promote. All the information we use will be from public sources. This is important because the story of power should not be a secret. We will use free media. We will use official reports. We will use historical archives that are accessible to anyone. The goal is to show you how to look for yourself. We will explore the more sensational claims as well, the stories about elite bloodlines stretching back thousands of years. The theories about secret rituals and occult symbolism. These ideas are a big part of the story of the 1%. We will investigate why these claims persist. We will look at real historical examples of elites using symbols and private traditions. But we will also be careful to separate documented facts from unproven conspiracies. The world of the powerful is already strange enough. We do not need to invent things. We will show where the evidence is strong and where it is weak. Ultimately, this essay is an attempt to map the landscape of modern power. We will ask what this supposed elite group wants to achieve. Is it just about preserving their wealth? Or is there a grander vision, a desire to shape the future of humanity itself? We will analyze their stated goals, found in the reports of their think tanks and the speeches at their exclusive gatherings. By the end, you will not have all the answers, but you will have a new set of tools. You will have a better understanding of how to ask questions about power, and you will see that the world we live in is not as random as it seems. There are patterns, there are structures, and if you know where to look, you can begin to see them, The story of concentrated power is not a modern invention. It is as old as civilization itself. Long before the idea of a 1% existed, societies were organized in hierarchies. At the very top were kings, pharaohs, emperors. They were not just wealthy, they were seen as divine or chosen by the gods. Their power was absolute. This power was not earned through merit alone. It was inherited. It was a matter of blood. The concept of the bloodline was central to these early systems of control. To be born into the right family was to be born into a world of privilege and authority that was unimaginable for ordinary people. This was the original blueprint for dynastic power, a model that would echo through the ages. These ancient rulers understood that power was fragile. To maintain it, they had to create structures that would last beyond their own lifetime. They did this by establishing dynasties. Power was passed from father to son, from one generation to the next. These families, like the pharaohs of Egypt or the imperial families of Rome, were not just political leaders. They were the epicenter of the economy. They owned vast tracts of land, controlled trade routes, commanded armies. To legitimize their rule, these dynasties used powerful symbols and stories. They built magnificent monuments that stood as testaments to their eternal power. They created elaborate rituals and religious ceremonies that placed them at the center of the universe. They were sophisticated tools of psychological control. It taught the masses that the world was divided into two groups, those who were born to rule and those who were born to be ruled. This ancient model of dynastic power provides a crucial context for understanding modern claims about elite bloodlines. The ancient royal families were the original networks of power, connected by marriage and shared interests across vast empires. They learned early on that cooperation among the elite was essential for maintaining control over the much larger population. As the age of feudal lords and absolute monarchs began to wane, a new kind of power emerged. This power was not based on land or divine right. It was based on money. In the bustling city-states of Renaissance Italy, families like the Medici and Florence pioneered a new form of influence. They were not kings or emperors. They were merchants and bankers. But their wealth gave them power that could rival and even control the old aristocracy. They understood a revolutionary concept, that money could be more powerful than armies. By financing kings, popes, and wars, they could pull the strings of power from behind the scenes. The Medici family is a perfect case study in how financial power translates into dynastic control. They used their immense fortune to take over the political machinery of Florence. They sponsored art and architecture as a form of public relations. They placed family members in key positions, most notably in the Catholic Church, with several becoming popes. The innovation that supercharged this new form of power was banking. Specifically, the creation of networks of credit that stretched across Europe. The Fuggers in Germany, and later the Rothschilds, created financial empires that monarchs depended on. They could fund a king's war or deny him the resources, effectively deciding the fate of nations from their counting houses. It was the beginning of a global financial system controlled by a small number of interconnected families who could move capital across borders with a simple letter of credit. These early banking families formed tight-knit networks, often marrying among themselves to keep the wealth and knowledge within a closed circle. They understood that information was a valuable commodity and that their true power lay in their ability to act in concert, away from the prying eyes of monarchs and the public. Section 3. Old Money, New World. When European powers began to colonize the globe, they brought this model of elite control with them. The great colonial enterprises, like the British East India Company and the Dutch East India Company, were some of the world's first multinational corporations. They were run by a small group of investors and aristocrats. These companies were granted vast powers by their respective monarchies. They could raise armies, mint money, and govern territories. They were hybrid entities, part corporation, part state. They were designed to extract wealth on an unprecedented scale. The fortunes generated by this colonial expansion were staggering. This wealth did not spread evenly through society. It was concentrated in the hands of families with capital and political connections. In the New World, particularly the United States, a similar pattern unfolded. Founded on ideals of equality, yet America quickly developed its own elite. The Founding Fathers were largely wealthy landowners, merchants, and slaveholders. Families like the Astors established dynasties that dominated society and finance for generations. This period cemented the link between family dynasties and global power. Transatlantic ties linked old money of London and Paris with new money of New York and Boston. They attended the same exclusive schools and joined the same private clubs. Section 4. The Industrial Barons and the Forging of Fortunes. The Industrial Revolution unleashed another wave of wealth creation. A new type of powerful figure emerged, the Industrial Baron. Men like Andrew Carnegie in steel, John D. Rockefeller in oil, Cornelius Vanderbilt in railroads built empires of industry. They owned the factories, the mines, the railways. John D. Rockefeller's Standard Oil, for example, controlled around 90% of the oil refining in the United States at its peak. This was not just business success. It was the systematic elimination of competition to achieve total market control. They used their economic power to bend the political system to their will. They bribed politicians, bought newspapers to shape public opinion, and used armies of private security to crush labor unions. Faced with growing public outrage, they started to transform their public image from ruthless monopolists into benevolent philanthropists. Andrew Carnegie wrote The Gospel of Wealth. The Rockefellers, Carnegies, and Fords began to create massive charitable foundations. These foundations were a new and more sophisticated tool of influence. They allowed the families to shape society for generations to come. It moved their power from the visible realm of industry into the less visible and more respected realm of knowledge and social improvement. Through their foundations, these families could fund the universities that trained future leaders, the think tanks that developed government policy, and the medical research that set public health agendas. They were no longer just building companies, they were building the future. Section 5. The 20th Century Consolidation. The creation of the U.S. Federal Reserve in 1913 is a key event in this story. The plan for the Fed was drafted in a secret meeting on Jekyll Island, attended by representatives of the most powerful banking interests of the day. This established a new model, a central bank as a partnership between government and private banking power. That alliance between high finance and the state defined the 20th century. Institutions like the Council on Foreign Relations, founded in 1921, were created. The CFR brought together senior government officials, top corporate executives, and leading academics. Its private meetings and publications have shaped U.S. foreign policy for a century. After World War II, this model went global. At the Bretton Woods Conference in 1944, Allied leaders created a new international economic architecture. This included the International Monetary Fund and the World Bank. Power consolidated into a web of institutions. Old family dynasties didn't vanish. Their wealth and influence were channeled through complex, less visible structures. Power became institutional and less personal, hidden behind acronyms like IMF, CFR, and WHO. If we are to understand the motives of a potential global elite, we must begin with the most basic and powerful human driver: self-interest. Before any grand vision for the world, there is a simpler goal: preservation and expansion of their own immense wealth. This is the prime directive. This motive shapes their approach to almost everything. This is why we see a consistent push from elite-funded think tanks and lobbying groups for lower capital gains taxes, the reduction of inheritance taxes, and the creation of international tax havens. This desire for wealth preservation explains the elite's complex relationship with risk. A key goal is to privatize profits and to socialize losses. When their speculative bets pay off, the profits are their own. When they fail, they use their immense influence to ensure that the state, funded by the taxpayer, bails them out. This creates a powerful incentive to capture the state. They fund the campaigns of politicians. Those politicians appoint friendly regulators. Those politicians pass favorable laws. Once wealth is secured, the next logical goal is to ensure the long-term stability of the system that protects it. One key strategy for achieving this is to manage dissent. This is often done by co-opting and funding potential opposition. It channels the energy of protest into channels that do not threaten the core structures of power. Another tool for maintaining stability is the management of scarcity. This involves controlling essential resources like food, energy, and water. The network can influence the availability and price of the very things people need to survive. Furthermore, the promotion of consumerism plays a vital role. A population that is focused on acquiring material goods, distracted by entertainment, and trapped in a cycle of work and debt, is less likely to have the time or energy to question the fundamental nature of the system. Ultimately, the goal is to prevent the 99% from realizing their collective power. This is achieved by promoting division. This keeps the population fragmented and fighting amongst themselves. A divided public is a weak public. Beyond simply preserving wealth, an ambitious elite seeks to shape the entire global order. Their goal is to create a global system that is maximally open to their business operations. This is the vision of a truly globalized world, not run by democratic nations, but managed by a network of corporations and financial institutions. This goal is pursued through the promotion of so-called free trade agreements. These agreements are often thousands of pages long and are negotiated in secret. They effectively lock nations into a corporate-friendly global framework. International institutions are crucial tools for enforcing this order. When a developing nation faces a financial crisis, the IMF will often provide a bailout loan. But this loan comes with strict conditions. They use debt as a lever to force nations to remodel their economies. This is a form of neo-colonialism. The ultimate vision is a world where the power of the democratic nation-state is diminished. The ideal world for this elite is one governed by a network of technocrats who run global institutions according to, rational, market-based principles. Section 5, the long game, legacy and technological dominance. The great dynastic families are deeply concerned with legacy. This long-term thinking leads to a focus on controlling the future itself, primarily through the control of technology. The current technological revolution presents an unprecedented opportunity for control. The drive towards a cashless society, promoted for its convenience, also creates a system where every single transaction can be monitored and controlled. Biotechnology and genetic engineering offer an even more profound form of control. This could lead to a future that is divided not just by wealth, but by biology itself. A world with an enhanced, long-lived class of post-humans and an unenhanced mass of ordinary people. This quest for technological dominance is the culmination of all the other motives. The long game is to move from the hidden, indirect control of the 20th century to a more open and absolute technological control in the 21st. It is the pursuit of a permanent and inescapable system of power. Section 1. The Map of Power. We began this journey with a simple question: who is in charge? We have not found a single simple answer. There is no one man in a dark room pulling all the strings. The reality is both more complex and more mundane. Power is a network. It is a culture. It is a set of shared interests. Our investigation has shown a clear distinction between two worlds. The first is the world of documented fact. The second world is the world of myth and speculation. This is the real, tangible structure of elite influence. It is not a secret conspiracy. It is hidden in plain sight. The power of the 1% is not primarily magical or mystical. It is structural. The real secret of the elite is not what they do in their private rituals. It is what they do in their boardrooms, their foundations, and the halls of government. They have built a system that quietly and relentlessly funnels wealth and power to the top. Section 2. The Tools of a Free Mind. The antidote to control is understanding, and the first tool is media literacy. We must learn to consume information with a critical eye. The second tool is a commitment to public records. This is the essence of the follow the power method. It means choosing evidence over rumor. It means trusting documents over gurus. The third tool is civic engagement. The system of power we have described thrives on public apathy. Demanding transparency is a powerful act. Finally, we must learn to verify claims ourselves. Developing this habit of independent verification is perhaps the most crucial tool of all. It is the foundation of a free mind. Section 3. The Unanswered Question. We end where we began, but with a new perspective. They share a common goal: to maintain a system that has served them so well. This leaves us with a final, practical question. A question for you to investigate in your own life. Who owns the company you work for? Who owns the house or apartment you live in? Who funds the local politicians who make decisions about your community? As you begin to ask these questions, you will start to see the patterns. It is the process of drawing your own map. It is the beginning of understanding your own position within the complex machine we have explored. The ultimate question is not who controls the world. The ultimate question is, what are we going to do about it? Are we going to be distracted by sensational stories and myths of good versus evil? Or are we going to do the hard, patient work of understanding the real structures of power? The power of the 1% is immense, but it relies on the 99% remaining confused, remaining divided, remaining asleep. The unanswered question is, will we choose to wake up?